Welcome back to part two. Hopefully, you guys enjoy part one. Part two is cram packed full of more information. We'll be covering reverse parking. Why do we do it? How do you do it? We'll be covering more of situational awareness inside of venues, inside restaurants, inside movie theaters. And at the end, Ray and I discuss how I sit, how I schedule my seating, what location in a movie theater, and why. Hopefully it's enlightening. Hopefully you guys get something from it. Let's get it started. Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Greg with Cadre. This is part two, and I've got my brother Ray here again with me. We're going to continue on. The first, if you haven't watched the first episode, you need to, guys. We covered a couple different areas in situational awareness, and we're going to pick up from there. Again, what we're trying to do is base all this information on 40 plus years of combined experience actually doing this for a living. Again, this is going to be part two. And right now, I believe we project all the way to part six on topics that you would see every day. All right. We're going to cover situational awareness. We're going to cover threat assessments. How do you do it? How do you assess? Risk mitigation. How do you take care of the risk once you perceive it? What's your next steps? And then at the end, the psychology of fear. What can you expect? Right?
Thank you, brother. I'm happy to be back and ready to dive into this.
We finished part one with walking through a vehicle. And I believe, I mean, you go out to the malls, you're seeing every day. Everybody goes somewhere and goes back. What I'd like to do on this, Ray, is let's take them from arriving at a parking lot to go to a mall, to go to a restaurant. How are they going to get from point A to point B and utilizing situational awareness, what we've been discussing, how they can do it safely? What are they looking for? I'll let you go ahead and start, brother.
Sure, thank you. And it's, as we mentioned previously, when you're leaving a building, going out to the parking lot, your your scan zone or your peripheries goes from 45 to 90 to 180 to 360 the further you get away from the building. Now you're almost starting at the 360, if you will. I pull it to my parking space. I ensure that I don't mind walking. So I don't park the closest to the doors as possible.
Well, quick note,
Go ahead.
not
Go ahead.
not to cut you off, but while we're there, it made me think about it. I personally, I know you and I've had this discussion. I like to reverse park. Again, depending on the situation where I'm at, but the reason I'm a proponent of reverse parking, especially in parking lots, or of course we're looking for the lights. If it's going to be dusk, if it's going to be dark, we're looking for lights so we have good vision.
Visibility. Yep.
But I've always liked to reverse park. So if I had to get in my vehicle and leave that location quickly, under duress or stress, it's going to be easier for me, especially in an automatic transmission, to pull it all the way down to drive, from park all the way down to drive, and then go, versus if I pull into a wall against a building or against another car, now I have to come down and find one gear to get me mobile, or I'm actually crashing into the back again under stress. And I'm sure you have too. I've seen it a lot. I've
And
seen guys get under stress and then can't find a gear. They either lock up, freeze up, or they slam it in first and they hit somebody else.
well,
So,
I've
what's
seen
your thoughts on that?
spot on. And again, that's why the further away from the door that I park, I'm able to pull in as normal parking, but there's the space in front of me is vacant and I just pull into that, which
Right.
it looks like I'm reverse parking.
No,
But
agreed. But you still reverse parking at that point.
correct. And not only does this help during stressful situations, but how many times have there been accidents of people again not paying attention, not aware of their surroundings, they jump in their vehicle, they assume me that the rear is clear and they back up. So it's a safety security issue, if you will, that
Great
would
point.
help. So
Great
think
point.
about that next time you park. Think about that. And again, we can see a vehicle if we're paying attention. So if we're reversing out of a space, we may be able to see a vehicle before the vehicle shows up. But how clearly can we see a pedestrian that's walking behind our vehicle? So
Right.
yes, that is a good point. And
I didn't mean to
so
cut you off, brother. I just
no, no, that's
that
that's
was on
that's
my
good.
mind because I see people doing that all the time. I see
Correct.
accidents and fender benders in a mall. So I mean,
And that
again,
what
situational awareness.
yes, and in today's environment, today's fender benders, yesteryear's fender benders, where you get out, you shake hands, how you doing, you exchange insurance cards, you take down names. Today's fender benders, you don't know what's going on in a person's life that just you just ran into or ran into you. So
Road rage.
one hundred
That's
percent,
another topic we're going to be discussing,
one
but
hundred percent.
it plays into this as well.
So yes, so finding my parking space wherever I deem necessary. I leave it there, I park, I get out. And now I'm going from a 360 scanning. And again, this is not a scanning where, that it's deliberate and people can look at you like, what's wrong with that dude? This is subtle scanning of the area, ensuring if there's people nearby, pedestrians, people in vehicles, give them the greeting of the day. And as you're walking closer to the building, the one that really it's a burr in my saddle. People that are driving right in front of, say, a grocery store or the mall, they don't have a speed limit. They just zoom. I mean, they're idiots. And I'll say it
Right.
out loud. You're a freaking idiot.
Oops.
Take your time, do the safe speed that you can handle the vehicle. Because if a child runs out or if a pedestrian's walking by, give the pedestrian the right of way. So again, leaving the building, you go from a 45, 90, 180, 360-degree scanning of your area. Arriving at the building, at the whatever building it is, whatever venue, then you start with a 360. I always look back. I mean, it's nature. And the closer you get, the narrower your scanning becomes because now you're really focused as you're walking in. Now,
Okay. On that, before I know the
yes.
question's going to be asked, what are you looking for?
Well, I'm looking at people. And the other thing is I'm not only scanning with my eyes, I'm scanning with my ears because the closer I get into the building, maybe the threat's already inside the building and maybe the threat is already initiated. And so
Right.
if I hear what sounds like a firecracker, my first instinct is going to identify is the instinct is one, what was that? I'm
Right.
not going to assume that it's a firecracker, but it's just I'm looking at people. I'm
So
looking at
you got your visual perception, you got your auditory perception, and you got your visual scanning. So there's three things that you have already done, and you haven't even got outside the building yet. Outstanding.
correct. And excuse my grandfather clock for those of y'all. I'm showing my age here, but
Is it bedtime?
it's time to take my medicine. But no, and again, it's not, it's a mindset of I'm not afraid. If I was afraid, I wouldn't leave my house. So it's
Right.
not being afraid. It's being aware,
Being
looking at
smart.
people. Yes. And you walk in and you greet everybody. Uh, and some people greet you back, and others don't. That's fine. But at least, you know, I was taught long ago the best way to protect yourself is to know what's about to occur.
Yep.
And I've asked others, what's the best way to protect yourself? Go to the range and learn how to shoot. Okay. What's your answer to that? A black belt in karate jujitsu. I'm like, okay. But even a badass black belt karate jujitsu, if he's surprised and taken from a blind spot, is going to go down. It doesn't matter who you are. But
Well,
what about go ahead.
it's like just that we're talking about firearms, right? And again, I do just like you. I do a lot of instruction on firearms. But what I like to tell individuals is anybody can pull a trigger, right? Anybody can pull a trigger, but it takes a certain individual with the right situational awareness and perception to know not when not to pull a trigger.
Well,
A lot of
one,
times it's
yes, because we don't know. We're so focused on the threat. We're not worried about what's beyond the threat. That awareness is not there because we're so blinded by the
right,
threat that
tunnel
we just
vision,
yes, and we just start bow 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 bow. We're accountable for every round.
right?
So do I really want to blindly shoot at a threat, not
No,
knowing what's beyond the threat, and be the unfortunately my round hit an innocent victim, a child or whatnot? No, I don't want that. So again,
but it all
situational
starts back
awareness.
to situational awareness. It all comes back full circle, and you
Correct.
got to have one. And that's what I tell. That's what I tell people. If you want to get into firearms, that's great. That's a tool. But ultimately, you're going to use situational awareness and the awareness itself more so than anything else because you're going to have that prior to it coming to a weapon.
Correct.
So you're going to get
Avoidance.
yourself out of that position. You may see something through situational awareness to where if you're just walking around and you're not paying attention, now you have to go guns up. But if you're using situational awareness, you already see, hey, it's a bad situation. Let me see myself away from here.
Yep.
Now you're out of it altogether.
Oh yeah. What was our
Again,
saying?
cut you off again. My bad, brother.
No,
My
no,
bad.
that works because it at the spur of the moment when a key point pops in, that's what it's
Well,
about.
I'm very I like this topic. I like training this because a lot of people do not know this. And I feel with if they just take one or two things from our discussions, I believe it'll help them a lot.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially if they realize that it's a skill set that they haven't honed yet, but it's a skill set that they're actually doing right
Right.
now to avoid traffic accidents in that case. And it can be used for anything, not necessarily a hostile threat. It safety and security run neck and neck, hand to hand.
Yep.
You can't have
Yep.
one without the other because they both do the same thing. They want to protect loss of life and loss of limb.
Yes,
So
sir.
so that awareness, and you know, understanding situational awareness may or may not fall into this category, but if you're with a group of people, friends at a function, and then there's other people that are unknowns that show up, you it's guaranteed that I'm going to put a lot of awareness on the unknowns because I'm going to go and how are you doing? Who I want to get to know you. I want to
Well,
get a
just like
feel.
if you go to if you're a regular at your local Starbucks and you know everybody in there because it's 7:30 in the morning, everybody comes in to get their coffee. And then that one day there's somebody new that walks in. You're going to realize that because it's different.
Sure,
This
it's out of the
person is,
norm.
well, yeah. And that's the issue, like we had on our past discussion on church security. That's the issue they always run into because they have new people there.
Well,
But it's situational
the,
awareness.
the other issue, not to jump into the church one, but there is no awareness.
Right.
So there's no vigilance.
No,
And I expect new people to come into my church, but if we don't have a meet and greet team, if we don't have someone looking at the parking lots, helping the elderly, helping people that need help, where's your vigilance? Where's your awareness? There is none.
right.
So Yes.
Anyway,
Aware.
again, I got us off topic, but yeah, but where we were at, you were getting ready to break that threshold going into the mall or restaurant. Continue,
Right.
sir.
Well, the other thing is, as you're walking up towards, and I learned this from an old Vietnam survivors of the Vietnam War that survived ambushes. Near ambushes, the probability of surviving a near ambush is slim to none. But
Right,
thank you, God, there are those that have survived it. And what they passed on was, if you have it in your mind and you're anticipating something to occur, you're looking on your path that you're walking. If something does occur, where am I going to jump behind? What cover am I going to seek? And is it cover or is it concealment? So I do that as well, walking up to the door. And I even do that while I'm inside of the building. Where are the exits? But that's what I learned from these Vietnam vets,
mm,
is the ones that survived a near ambush is they weren't thinking of getting back to the rear with the beer. They were thinking
right,
about, what am I doing my next step? If I get hit right now, where do I go to? Is there cover to my left? Is there cover to my right? And that leads to a different topic, which is controlling your emotions during crisis situations.
right,
But being aware of the environment can be a detriment to us, but more so, it's going to be a benefit for us if we know how to use certain elements within the environment.
right.
You know, I've seen many times during training exercises where people are hiding behind bushes. And I'm looking at you and I'm like, dude, do you really think that bush is going to prevent a bullet from going through it?
Cover
So
concealment.
they had that mistaken definition. If they don't see me, they can't shoot me.
Right,
Oh, they can hear you and they're going to shoot you because they're going to shoot right through that plastic 55-gallon drum
right.
trash can that you're sitting behind, or that drywall. You look at we look at a wall and we think that it's going to protect us from physical harm, and then you tap on that wall and it's hollower than,
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying. So it's awareness. I walk by, and again, maybe I'm anal, but it's just human nature for me. It's what I
No,
do.
I was when you were saying that, I'm thinking, okay, I go to the movies, and I don't like a lot of crowds. It's like I've probably been to a handful of like ball games, NFL ball games. I just don't like a lot of crowds. That's just me.
Amen.
But going into the movies, I mean, by the time I sit down, I choose my seat prior to getting there. And when I walk to my seat and I'm sitting down, I'm already looking at where the exits are. If something happens here, here is my cover. Here is this. Here's my exit. I can do this. This is my angles of fire. And
Well,
that's
people don't go with me to the movies because I don't sit up front. I don't sit in the
oh no.
middle. I have the What's behind me is a wall.
Yep. Same
So
here.
I'm at the top. I'm able to scan the entire
And I'm
theater,
normally in the top corner, so I can actually have the entire
field of
theater that
time.
I can watch everything.
No, it's just it's our nature, and it's things that we take for granted. If we haven't been exposed to these things, we take it for granted because, even you were talking about a large place. How many times have people died or injuries have occurred because of the loss of emotion and the herd effect, the
Yeah.
trampling of people just panicking
Right.
and people falling down and they're being trampled
Yep.
by pounds of mass.
Yes. And it's
So
kids.
yes,
It's I don't know. It's again the herd effect.
sure. And so, going into whatever venue, from the parking lot into the venue, what's around you, who's around you, what's nearest that can be used as cover if a threat approaches outside. And once you're inside the facility, the building, be it a grocery store, be it a mall, again, where are the exits? Where are the bathrooms? Where
Well, on
are
that, I like me personally, when I come in, especially if it's a newer place I've never been, when you normally, if you enter, you're going to have a fire exit plaque on the wall.
yes,
I like to take a picture of it so I have a digital copy no matter what. A, it gives me the layout of the entire place, but you also know what the emergency, if there's a fire, no matter where I'm at, I know where to go. So I'm not following crowds. You're not the blind leading the blind or
right.
following sheep. I know where to go. I
Uh,
know I can take my family, friend. I know where to go. I'm not relying on someone else to dictate me going the wrong direction.
I hear you, brother. It is, and it's again, the threats aren't specific to a physical harm or a direct attack.
Right.
How many times have you seen throughout the malls in the United States, California, Texas, whatnot, where a group of people, 10 to 15, will go into various jewelry stores and do smash and grabs.
Right.
I don't want to be anywhere near that, even though I know it's not targeting me. Anytime you're near it, it's called
You're coming up.
collateral damage.
Hmm.
Yes.
No, I agree. I agree.
So I hope I hope this session was fruitful for some. I know it was for me.
It was for me as well. Again, I'm passionate about it. So it's again, guys. Hopefully you took something from here. Again, we're going from point A to point B and things to look for. How to observe your surroundings, what we're looking for, steps to take. Hopefully this helped. Again, if you haven't watched the first episode, make sure I'll go ahead and attach it to here. Make sure you watch that as well. Like, share, subscribe. It helps with the algorithm and it helps get the message out to more people. If anything we've said, if you got questions or comments, please leave them below. I do my best. It may take me a while, but I'll do my best to answer every single one of them. So again, Ray, thank you. Um, appreciate your insight, brother.
No, thank you for the
And
invite.
guys, appreciate you tuning in. And if you got any questions, leave them below. All I can ask until next time, and part 3 will be coming out here in probably about 3 or 4 days. Stay safe.
Stay safe, brothers and sisters.